Hi, I'm Dr. Rita Louise, and this is a planetary vibration reading for the week of October 5th, 2017. If the shooting in Las Vegas wasn't a false flag, and the person identified as the shooter actually pulled the trigger, was he reacting to the ongoing stress on the planet? If you'd like to schedule a psychic reading from me, contact me through my webpage, soulhealer.com. And here's this week's planetary reading. I want to start this week's reading by talking briefly about the shooting in Las Vegas. If you've been following along with the weekly forecast, you will have noticed the pattern of, well, let's call it doom and gloom that's been on the planet since around the time of the recent eclipse. In the instant that this event isn't a false flag and the shooter actually pulled the trigger, was he reacting to the ongoing stress on the planet and then finally, in a desperate act, lost it? Or were we, as sensitive human beings, picking up on his devious plans to commit such a hedonist act? We'll probably never know for sure, but it's something to think about. This week, a shift does feel like it's in the air. The cards indicate movement, an opening to source, new birth, and connection with our higher self. I think many of you are having a hard time feeling these shifts or even believing that they could be happening to you. Through the sadness of what's occurred in Las Vegas, there's a huge part of our inner being that has come to the realization that the world has changed and that hopes of going back to a simpler time have fallen by the wayside. There is a reluctant acknowledgement to the belief that, is this where life is going to be? Is this what life is going to be like here on the earth? Well, every part of our being is saying, please say it isn't so. The energy is still very dark and heavy, and I don't want to put more negative energy out into the universe. What I am feeling and am compelled to write about this week is the notion of the dark night of the soul. Wikipedia describes it this way. The dark night of the soul is a term used to describe a specific phase in a person's spiritual life. It is used as a metaphor, the experience of loneliness and desolation in one's life. Though typically associated with a crisis of faith in the Roman Catholic tradition, it is commonly referenced by spiritual traditions throughout the world and is generally accepted to be universally inherent aspect of spiritual growth. In Chinese philosophy, there is the concept of duality, which is represented by the yin-yang. They talk about the concept of opposites that are both parts of the whole, where one facet cannot exist without the other. Good and bad, light and darkness, fire and water, expanding and contracting. In Kabbalistic traditions, this notion is represented by three pillars: the pillar of severity, the pillar of mercy, and the pillar of balance. The pillar of severity and the pillar of mercy represent two opposing concepts such as good and bad. The center pillar, the pillar of balance, is when the diverse energies are harmonized into one. Are we at a tipping point? Are we so far over to one side of the equation that we are having the opportunity to learn unequivocally what kind of world we do not want to live in? Is this dark night of the soul preparing us so that we can emerge on the other side in a new, more balanced space? I can only hope so, because alternatives are not very pleasant. One last comment. Remember back in 2012, there was all the tension on the planet because the world was going to end on December 21st, 2012? My comment is this. I could understand the level of uneasiness felt around the planet as the date grew near. In that situation, however, there was a date tied to it, and I knew when the date passed, the apprehension would diminish. In this situation, there are not any dates. I would like to say there isn't any reason we should be feeling this way, but all you have to do is watch the news and see how things are escalating around the world exponentially. But that, my friends, is a political discussion, so I will end it here. I hope this next week's is good for you. Love yourself, nurture yourself, honor yourself. That will help you pull through. Well, that's it for this week's planetary reading. Please share it with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Like me, Dr. Rita Louise on Facebook, or schedule a private consultation by going to soulhealer.com. Till next time, I'm Dr. Rita Louise. Be blessed.